Start anytime you're ready.
Okay. Well, my name's Clay Mahn. I'm an undergraduate at the University of Montana currently. I'm going to talk about this piece here, which is an untitled piece, but it's part of a series I've been doing that sort of works with lots of refuse and sort of non-art materials, lots of salvaged home materials. I was shooting for an object that sort of was just kind of a visual, very visually, tantalizing or just exciting visually. When you get up close to it, with a lot of saturation of texture, there's nails and thread and phone book pages, and there's little bits of text and photographs from a magazine, which at first is not apparent as you see the piece from afar. Come closer to it, it becomes more and more apparent. It's sort of enticing. Draws you in, and it's almost your eyes search around at the piece up and down, but you just get glimpses. You don't ever read any full words or full images. In that way, I like its ambiguous qualities. In my studio, I tend to just start tearing apart my carpet and incorporating it into pieces and doing weird things like that, or taking paintings and cutting them up and arranging them in a form which is more of sculpture than a painting, but they started out entirely different. I guess I like to use the material. I like to sort of saturate my environment with material, you'd say, and then it sort of becomes incorporated into the work, which is why I see my studio's kind of a mess at the moment. But that's kind of how I like it. I go out, I gather materials that I like based on texture, if they have character, color, simplicity, and sort of gather them, bring them to the studio, and start fiddling around. The gathering of materials is an important aspect. I don't really know what they're going to be while I'm grabbing them. I just know there's potential. Around here, there's actually quite a bit of good material left over, pallets and old wood and sheet metal siding, and I try to, I guess, let it happen naturally. Stumble upon it, and when I see it, I'll grab it and take it into the studio and see where it goes from there. And when I think of titles, I think of it more as a thought or a way of thinking about the piece, in a mental manner as opposed to a visual piece. So not necessarily describing it in terms of form. I would like to take it a couple steps further and put some more content into it, or the readable content. How exactly I'm going to do that, I'm not sure right now, but at this moment, in my art making process, being an undergraduate student, I am trying to make a body of work, but at the same time, I'm really trying to just be very open to experimentation. I was interested in these very linear qualities of this repetition, and the sort of grid-like nature it makes. To me, it kind of hints at almost like a sort of stack of books, or it reminds me of tree bark, in sort of this strange fabricated form, which has natural elements, yet it's entirely been altered by human hand, but it still sort of references that sense of the natural object, sort of in an organized manner.
Is it more intuitive or intellectual?
It is intuitive, but I don't accept what spontaneously comes out. There's definitely a give and take, where it's both of those things, but they work one after another, and they're sequential, and that's how the piece moves forward, and then is adjusted.
Rauschenberg?
Yeah. Yeah, he's been a big influence. That's definitely with his his process. I think, yeah, is very similar to mine, or his process was, where stumbling around the streets and picking up material and finding out what he could do with them was, yeah, it definitely influenced me. I like that sense of freedom of material. Nuts and bolts, how they work. They're held together with there's lots of there's steel brads, and then there's large screws on the inside, which go through. It's actually put together in multiple sections. These I took about 4 or 5 and held them together with brads, and then those combined with the screw, and then which made 2 larger pieces. 2 larger pieces combined, and 2 larger screws go through. So it is in parts. I mean, you could technically take it apart and put it back together, rearrange it.
I'm going to go ahead and get some of your chaos here.
Yeah.